Welcome to Horror Movies with TNA. Each episode, we're going to pick a film, talk about it, and rate it. Word of warning, there will be spoilers. This week, we're talking about Jeff Lieberman's Just Before Dawn from 1981.
You know, there's no squeal like piggy or baby.
Ambient volume.
This is the difference. You've got A4 and 9 pages. I've got A5, which is smaller. Fat fans. And I've done 2.
It's half the size almost, isn't it? A5.
It is. No,
Each
it's not
time.
almost. It literally is.
A3. Oh, isn't it funny how it's the sizes are smaller but the numbers increase?
Manifold.
Amount of
folds. I don't know. I just made that up. Sounds right though, doesn't it?
The amount of folds.
I've realised I can't talk properly today, so this is going to go well.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's fine, isn't it? Let's talk a little bit about any...
Sex, baby. Have you
watched any films recently since we last talked?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Nothing you want to share with anybody?
No. I've watched some kung fu films since.
Yes.
Yeah. Watched Police Story 3.
Super Cop.
Royal Warriors.
That's
quite good as well.
Is that Michelle Yeoh?
Yeah. It was good. I like 80s kung fu. So yeah.
I'm quite keen on 70s kung fu as well. I don't think it ever went out of fashion.
Yeah, I've just not been watching many of the new stuff, to be quite honest, because it's all a bit...
sort of CGI.
Well, there seems to be more wire work in it, and I'd rather just see someone get punched.
Clean.
In the chops.
Yes. I have watched a couple of horror films. Conjuring, the third one. I can't remember. It's called Devil Made Me Do It or something, or Devil Wears Prada. I can't remember what it's called. Prada, yeah. That was... I quite like the whole kind of franchise, but I don't think that one was particularly good.
I can't remember the third one at all. I did watch it.
Yeah, it's not great.
The first one's the best one. The second one was...
the second one was alright. It
was alright,
in England, isn't it? In the UK.
Well, I think we watched it, didn't we?
Yes.
When you came round.
They're all kind of... They're loosely based on a true story.
It was based on...
Claim they all are.
Loose women. That's what it's based on. Loosely based on loose women.
On loose women. Yeah, it wasn't... And the other film I watched it with my son actually, which we've seen before, is Green Room. Still good. I still thought it was as good as it was.
Just that arm bit in it.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was slightly... Well, his arm was cut. But I don't know whether on the version we watched, which was on Prime, I don't know whether that particular bit was slightly cut. I wasn't sure. It felt
maybe
like...
you just thought it was worse the first time you saw it.
It was maybe me remembering it. But yeah, there's quite a nasty bit with an arm, isn't there? But overall, the film was... I still enjoyed it as I did the first time. So yeah, that's one to recommend.
I did watch another kung fu film with Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock in it. It's that famous one where Cynthia Rothrock does the splits on a wall. She sort of like backs onto a wall and then does the splits on it. Freaking crazy.
Wasn't that her signature? What's it
There's
called?
Loads of bit. I'm trying to remember because it's got different names.
We will fact check it and get the ghost to relay back because it may be a film. But
that was really good, to be honest. And the stunts in it were the old school. Someone's hurt themselves.
Yeah.
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 I think it'd be all right.
Yeah. There you go. That's it. Right, okay, so that's a few films to recommend or maybe for people to avoid. Taglines for this film, before we go into it: the nightmare has begun. Will anyone survive those hours before dawn? Don't camp in the woods. Just don't. Was another one.
Yeah. Just don't. All right.
Yes, and those are the taglines for 1981's Just Before Dawn.
It's got a good poster for it. Even the video cover was quite good, actually, from the 80s. It just had the bloke...
The killer.
They don't hide the killer at all. He's there within the first, 5 minutes.
Well, there's a reveal later on, but yeah, you know who it is. Yeah. There's no kind of twist or guessing who it is. The translation in French for this was... Survivance. I think they were trying to cash in on Deliverance. And in Germany, it was Bloody Dusk.
But yeah, Just Before Dawn is a good title.
Yeah.
I mean, it only really makes sense right at the end because, it doesn't really make... It's a good title for a film. I'm not going to overanalyse it.
So this slasher was directed by Jeff Lieberman, who directed Squirm and was it Blue Sunshine?
Yeah, I've never seen Blue Sunshine and I've heard good things about it. His other Squirm is meant to be all right, and Blue Sunshine's meant to be pretty good.
The cast. Warren is played by Greg Henry, who, in amongst his films, he did Raising Cain. He was in Scarface. I watched a programme recently on Disney, which was The Killing, and he was pretty good in that, actually. He was in that, coincidentally. We've got Connie, played by Deborah Benson. If I don't say any of the films these people were in, that's because they either weren't in much else or I didn't spot anything of interest. Jonathan is Chris Lemmon. He was in Thunder in Paradise 1-3 with Hulk Hogan.
Chris Lemmon is Jack Lemmon's son as well.
And he looks,
It looks
a
familiar,
little bit like him. Yes, he does. Roy McLean, of course, played by George Kennedy, who's not actually in it that much, and he was in a whole list of films. And actually, he was in The Uninvited, which is from our episode number 1, if you want to check it out.
So if you want to check out what a shambles that was. I mean, has he got better? Yeah.
No, he was in Deaf Shit, Creepshow 2, yeah, Uninvited.
Deaf shit.
Deaf Shit.
I've had one of them.
Yes. Yeah, and lots of programmes, lots and lots of TV shows. His filmography goes on and on.
Yeah, he was busy during the 80s, definitely.
This is great stuff, isn't it? Also, there's obviously Mike Kellin, who plays Ty, the kind of drunk guy at the beginning. He was in Sleepaway Camp, and he was quite memorable in that. We talked about him in one of our previous episodes, and he kind of hams it up quite a lot in this film. Also, to put this film in context, 1981, other films in that year, listen to this: The Beyond, The Burning, Absurd, Evil Speak, Zombie Lake.
What?
Evil Dead? 81, I think. Evil Dead?
Yeah, well, it may have been, because it took a while to make it, so it could have been 80.
Okay, atmospheric shot as the film opens. So let's make a start, shall we? Have you got anything else to say about the film?
Music by Brad Fiedel.
Brad Fiedel, who went on to do films such as Terminator 1 and 2.
Yeah, the music at the beginning...
But there's not much music, is
there?
Well,
at the beginning, you can say... I thought, this is quite good music. And it said Brad Fiedel. And I thought,
that's because
it
was Blondie. But...
No, I meant over the titles. Yeah, the sound. But then after that, there's sort of weird music at the end and noises, which he may have done.
But there's not a lot of it.
And the Blondie is on the soundtrack Heart of Glass, which I thought, bloody hell, for such a cheapo film, that's a bit of a coup. Maybe she was a big friend of Jeff or Brad. Let's start the story. Bring the lights down and let's talk about the film. Yeah, atmospheric shots, mountains. This was filmed in Oregon, I think. In fact, I think it was shot at Silver Falls State Park, Sublimity in Oregon. It's quite a nice setting. It mentioned Silver Falls anyway. So yeah, the waterfalls were really good and impressive.
Yes, so it's quite atmospheric. We start off at an abandoned church, which interestingly was built for the film.
Oh, right.
I think you can tell because some of the gravestones, when Danny gets killed later on, he hits one of them. They're wobbly. They're a bit wobbly as well. Yeah, so abandoned church. A couple of drunken hunters, Ty and Vachel. They're in there monging around, exploring. Ty spots someone watching them through a hole in the roof, which is actually our killer, we learn. But anyway. And he goes outside to investigate, only to see their pickup crash into a tree.
And absolutely blow up.
And explode, very explosive. Vachel, hearing the crash, goes to leave. He's stopped by a great big brute who shoves his big serrated machete right through his crotch.
It is. I was surprised because I thought, well, is that in his stomach? But then you see it come out, his bumhole. You don't literally see it come out his bumhole, do you?
It goes in his front pocket and comes out his back pipes. Or his bum flaps, his keister. Yes, it comes out the other side.
Yes, that as a start. I mean, I've drawn this picture.
Oh, the big lumbering oaf of a killer is kind of chuckling away as he does this, which I thought was quite good. As an opening sequence and a kill, it's not that bad. Unfortunately, we never get anything else for about another hour, but it does start off quite good.
Yeah, I think, but the point is that, well, you're right, but I mean, I might be giving my hand away a bit already, but it's the atmosphere.
And then the Brute steals Vachur's hat and his high-vis vest, which he continues to wear throughout the film. It's not exactly Shatner mask. He wears this hat and he wears this high-vis vest throughout. It's not a bad striking visual for a psycho. Ty spots the lumbering Brute, leaving the church, and takes off. I like the fact that the killer kind of looked up and spotted Ty in the distance, and then Ty does the sensible thing and legs it. So anyway, that's the beginning. That's the opening sequence. Now we get an RV full of college kids. We've got Warren, his girlfriend Constance or Connie, Jonathan and Megan, and then Jonathan's brother Daniel. And as we've already said, they're playing on the radio in the RV Blondie's Heart of Glass, which is great. Daniel's a budding photographist.
Fisting.
He's a
photographer.
He's a budding photographer. He mentions at one point, as he stares out the RV looking at people that they pass, I wonder why there's so many twins around, and that will return a little bit later. We get loads of slasher film bants between the kids, which is really banal and not worth mentioning. No. Acting, actually, as well, and I'll say this at the end, acting, however, overall is pretty good, really, I thought. I don't think there's anybody that was a bit of a dud in it. They're all quite good. They're heading up into the mountains anyway. All of a sudden they hit a deer. That bit's pretty awful. They hit a deer in the road, which looks like it's something that's been thrown at the windscreen. And at that point, Connie's acting isn't that great, but they hit a deer. It kind of reminded me of the video for Queens of the Stone Age. No one knows the way it looked.
Yeah, that bit goes on a bit because then he just wanders off as a look.
Yeah, Warren's sent because he's kind of like meant to be the bit of a macho guy, but that's another theme for the film as well. He's sent out to kind of have a look. He returns to the RV and kind of lies to the group and tells them that the deer ran away unhurt, although actually Warren didn't find the deer at all. He found no trace of it. So anyway, that's a kind of very disposable and forgettable bit, to be honest. He says it must have been a tough little buck. It took right off. So there you go. They meet Forest Ranger George Kennedy, Roy McLean.
No, there's a bit where he's talking to his plants and then he starts talking to his horse for quite a bit. And that seems a running theme that he's talking to.
He's up on the mountainside on his own, so he's taken to talking to other things other than people, hasn't he?
He's a park ranger that doesn't want anyone to go anywhere on the fucking park.
I suppose that's for an easy life. Yes. Forest Ranger George Kennedy flags them down. Don't venture up into the mountain, he warns.
I ain't just singing a tune. Warned you.
He shouts after them. So there you go. So he doesn't want them to go up.
It's not about whether there's nutters there, though. It's about it's dangerous. It's
their danger. Yeah, and there's also a bit of a theme about them not exactly respecting their environment as well, which is kind of brushed over briefly. Daniel in the RV thinks he spots someone on the mountainside, so they stop to investigate. They peer through the undergrowth and out pops a pissed up Ty, still running from the beginning, which I have to say I thought was a half decent jump scare when he jumps out and he kind of grabs at Connie. He talks about demons, because obviously he's talking about this killer from the beginning. Babbling though, because obviously he's still half caught from the hooch he's been drinking.
Yeah, and they're fucking him off pretty much in terms of...
Yeah, they dump him. I mean, there is a mention about them taking them along with them and then they decide not to. So fuck him. They set off again and Megan, who's Jonathan's girlfriend, uses the RV rear view mirror to apply makeup, which means Warren isn't able to spot when our lumbering oaf climbs onto the top of the RV. Yeah, there's like a big bump.
That's quite good because it's like in broad daylight, it's not hiding. A lot of it is he's not sneaking around like Friday the 13th, or it's not their point of view at all, actually.
He has no finesse, does he?
Actually, I noticed that there isn't any, I don't think there was any point of views from the killer point of view at all in the film. The most you got close to that was when Daniel can't see without his glasses and he's looking.
And it's got a blurry view.
Yeah.
But again, that's looking at the killer, isn't it? There's no point of view from the killer.
So he's trying to do something different. And also, it's like dead blatant. He just jumps on the back of the RV and you can see him just standing there and you're going, all right.
But anyway, it allows the killer to follow them to the campsite. So there you go. It's kind of setting it quite nicely. Scenery is nice as they leave the RV to kind of go up to the campsite. I think they go under a waterfall. It looks really good. Daniel, Connie and Megan set up camp whilst Warren and Jonathan head back to the RV to pick up supplies. I think mainly alcohol. So they go off whilst the others set up camp. And that's it, isn't it? It's nicely done, isn't it? There's a little bit where they kind of drop in things like littering, and it's a wafer thin storyline. And I read about this as well. It says wafer thin storyline that maybe they're being less than respectful for the mountainside and the environment. The mountain has given birth to the killer to take revenge on them.
Oh, that's bullshit.
In the dark, Warren and John play a trick to scare the rest of the party. When they jump out and scare them, Connie is frustrated with herself because she panics. And she's meant to be a seasoned camper. That's kind of her story arc. She starts off as a bit of a scaredy cat and ends up fisting some fucker in the face. Yeah, no, the guys jump out and kind of shock them. Although there is some suggestion that there's someone else there as the noises are coming from a different position to where the boys jumped out. So there is a suggestion there was actually somebody in the undergrowth. But anyway, so that's good. Next morning, the gang hears some beautiful singing down by the waterfall. That's Merry Cat Logan. She runs away. We'll see her again later and her family. So that's a very brief, again, kind of forgettable scene. But anyway, rope bridge.
Fuck me. It's just one bit of rope with bits of rope either side of it.
Yes,
and they're all doing the bastard as well.
Yes, there's a rope bridge strung across the valley, and all the gang cross it. Some of the stunt people used for the party crossing were woefully inaccurate, especially when Daniel nearly kind of falls and he's hanging, which at first I thought it was him, and then I realised it most definitely wasn't. But even, you've got to commend the stuntman, because even then it's quite good.
Yeah, but again, just that, which you could say, it goes on a bit, but it's because they're really doing it. And the very first person, Warren, it's obviously him doing it, because you can see him walking across the bridge. So
yeah, I wouldn't have liked to do it. They then roll down a hill. They all kind of roll.
This bit's fucking mental again. I know it's the stunt people, but I was thinking, there's rocks at the bottom of this fucking hill, and the hill, it's fucking almost 90-degree angle.
I thought it was almost like the stunt people were challenging each other to go down in the most dramatic fashion, because they kind of roll. I was thinking
even going sideways down like the bloke was doing would shit me up, but rolling down almost like a 90-degree slope with rocks at the end. And there was obviously, they were just doing it. Just jumping.
Oh, they were doing it. Johnny and his girlfriend Megan go skinny dipping.
Oh, I like this bit. Not because of the boobies. There is boobies. But
they're skinny dipping by the waterfall, and we can see the killer in the background, which is quite good, entering in the water.
Because I wasn't sure at first. I mean, that's right. So the quality of the one on Prime, which is one we watched, at least it's not like a copy of a videotape and it's really rough, but it's like old film, lots of scratches.
A little bit grainy, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was okay with that. Could have been a bit lighter in points, because sometimes it gets too dark, but that also made it. But yeah, it's the way he didn't do any sort of ominous music and go dun, that he's there being the background. You could just they were just playing around, and at first I thought, oh, is that him? And I want to recognise if he didn't have his luminous hat on.
Yeah, yes.
But then he sort of just gets behind the waterfall and gets in the water. And I just think, what the fuck's going to happen next? And then happens.
And then in the water, essentially...
she gets groped, generally.
Jonathan leaves Megan's side, and then a hand reaches out the water, and obviously she thinks it's Jonathan fooling around. But then she spots Jonathan over by his side. Yeah. So she obviously shrieks, and she realises it's not Jonathan, and she panics and swims away. Yeah. But obviously we know it's a dirty big arm that's kind of grabbed her.
But yeah, I didn't know whether she was going to get killed or... But for her to just be... No, it's not groping as such, but it's like grabbing her, trying to pull her under a little bit. But it is a bit weird, because you think, where the fuck has he gone? I quite liked it.
For a clam. Okay. Drunken Ty stumbles down and meets with Roy. and tells him about a demon. Again, he talks about a demon and babbling, and that the kids are in danger. So that kind of warns Roy, and off the back of this, he sets off up the mountain. Little bit. The kids are getting wired on cheap hooch. So this is on the night. They've got a fire lit. The party music they crank up whilst they start boogieing is excruciating. That sounds like somebody chewing on a Yamaha, doesn't it? That music's fucking playing a Yamaha. But they're starting to get a little bit drunk and falling around. Someone all of a sudden shoots the music. Are you allowed to say ghetto blaster? Somebody shoots the music system, the ghetto blaster.
Well, but no, actually, maybe you're not.
Yeah, I don't know, ghetto.
The big sound system, the old tape deck,
the
2 speakers thing.
Somebody shoots the stereo system. Then the Logan family arrives, which is Pa, Ma and Merrycat, who we've already met. And they're armed with a double barrel, and he warns them that, he tells them to leave the mountain.
But doesn't he keep saying something about, I can't remember what he says now. He just repeats the same line about 4 times.
Get fucked. I don't know, to be honest. I didn't hear. I mean, Warren talks because apparently he's inherited some of the land on the mountain, so he's challenging them because he's saying, well, actually, I'm the deed owner for this. But anyway, who gives a shit about that? So there you go. That's that. Next day, Megan has dropped her makeup, so Jonathan has to go off wandering into the forest to look for it. There he is approached by Merrycat again, the young daughter, Logan, who kisses him. And he chases her. Jonathan crosses back across the rope bridge where he's hacked at by the big old brute on his arm and he falls. Well, he hacks the rope bridge and then he swings down into the water. Which at that point he's not dead. So he tries to climb back up the hillside.
I love this bit as well. I don't know why I liked it. Because I was thinking, oh no, when he gets up he's going to get killed again. Didn't even get that far. He climbs up. The bloke just kicks him in the face and knocks him straight back into the water. That's that done.
Yeah, I mean, this is our... Actually, this, I should say, I normally bore you and everybody else with this. 56 minutes this is, and this is our second kill of the film. Yeah, so with a bloodied hand, John Boy falls into the river. He blows on his whistle to alert the others. Whilst the big oaf stands chuckling, he then climbs back up and he's knocked down to his death.
Knock his teeth in.
Knock his teeth in.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good.
Connie continues to grow and gain confidence, whilst Warren gets more whiny throughout the film as well, so there's like almost a reversal in role. Daniel has gone back to the church in the graveyard, so we're back at the church, and Connie... Oh, and in between that, we switch to Connie and Warren discovering John Boy's body as well. Megan's got Daniel to take some snaps of her lying in the graveyard. Megan and Daniel start kissing in an attempt to make John jealous, although he's not even there. And for all they know, he's not going to turn up. In fact, as they embrace, Daniel thinks he sees John, because Daniel's taken off his glasses. So he thinks he sees Jonathan approaching.
I can't see with my
glasses. It's a blurred vision, and we see it blurred as well. He hasn't got his glasses on, so everything's a blur. It turns out to be our friendly killer, not Jonathan, who puts his machete through Daniel's stomach and then chases Megan into the church. She locks him out and then discovers Vachel, the guy from the beginning who got his crotch stabbed. She discovers his body inside, so she obviously starts screaming and panicking. And this is where we have a bit of the twist of the story.
Yeah.
So with Megan watching our killer through a broken window, she turns to find a second big lump of a killer.
Yeah, he's a twin, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's the twin. And as one killer is outside the church snapping Megan through the window, the other is killing her.
Yeah, with Daniel's camera.
Which I quite like that bit. I thought as he was taking photos outside, and we don't see anything, it's all off screen, but we see that one killer is killing her as the other one's photographing it, and I thought that was quite a good little bit. Connie and Warren stumble upon the Logan homestead. They meet Ma and Pa and Merrycat. Forgettable. We see Roy on his horse travelling up the mountainside. Anyway, listen to my story. Back at the campsite, one of the twins chases Connie. She climbs up a tree.
Oh, I thought this was Ace.
She's climbing up the tree, she's hanging up there screaming, and...
He just starts chopping at it with his big machete.
He starts to hack it down with his machete.
Which you think, well, that's going to take fucking ages. But obviously he's a big bastard.
Well, he rips through it.
Well, yeah, and it's only a few inches. But yeah, and then you literally... Again, the reason I quite like it is it's all done sort of practical, and you kind of go, these are the actual people. There's no... They've hacked a tree down, and she's falling down.
Yeah. Again,
and it's all done in one take as well.
Yeah, somebody has fallen down, haven't they, with the tree?
Yeah. So, you see her fall down... And then he starts to come over and she has to get up quickly and start legging it.
Yeah.
Straight after falling out of a tree.
And he kind of keeps kicking her and pushing her. And he's about to hack her when Roy, who's met up with Warren, arrive and put a bullet through the motherfucker's head.
Yeah.
And Roy actually makes a comment here. When he looks down at the body of the killer, he says, keep breeding in the same family, something's bound to snap. So we get this kind of inbred... Yeah. Story as well for the two. I was going to say the two twins. For the twins.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I haven't done this in Injustice because I've raced through it, but we're actually at. I mean, there's a couple of scenes of people traipsing around the forest at night.
First, 45 minutes, apart from the murder right at the beginning, is them just going through the forest. There isn't any interaction or build-up from the other things. But I'm not comparing this to Deliverance, don't worry. But in that... It is similar there's no danger apart from them being twats and not doing the right thing. This is very similar. But so I was okay with this, I guess. I kind of like that you stayed with them. They weren't too annoying. They were a bit right at the beginning. But they were just doing their thing, and you thought, well, I'm gone. There's still this killer. When's that going to appear? Fucking hell, it's been a while.
I had no issues with the characters, with the acting. Nothing kind of particularly annoyed me. Like I say, some of the conversations were a bit banal, but I've got no issues with that. Anyway, we're at the final battle. Warren and Connie get attacked by the second twin. And in the end, actually, Warren gets hacked in the belly, so he falls over.
Yeah, he falls over and starts whimpering and does... fuck all.
She kind of jumps on the twin's back and starts to wrestle him, and she starts to get squeezed, and then she shoves her arm down his throat and throttles him.
She literally she's fighting all she can, and then she's got nothing literally to hand, so she just goes. So it's quite a shock.
Yes,
to see her put not just a fist, but her entire arm up to her elbow down his throat.
Yeah, I mean, she throttles him from the inside, doesn't she? She fists his face.
Which I guess would work because he can't bite because his jaw's locked with her arm in it. I wouldn't like to try it myself, but needs must. But then right at the end, when she's killed him, she just stands there, sort of semi-smiling, and she consoles him. So he's crying his eyes out, and so the roles are swapped. So instead of it being a woman being all crying and I'm absolutely traumatized by this, it's him crying while she consoles him, right?
Yeah,
in his stomach at that.
She seemed to have almost become desensitized to it all, and he was just sat there sobbing. So the roles have been well and truly reversed by the end of it. And then
it just ends. There's no epilogue or anything. That's it.
Well, the credits roll as they did at the beginning over the scenic forest and mountainside, which is very nice. Yeah.
It's just before dawn, and it's dawning, and just as the chirping of birds
chirpy, cheep. Well, there's they said
there's weird sort of noises.
Yeah, well, they said it was meant, and this was intentional. Whether I actually recognised this, but the bird chirpy whistly noise was meant to be again a repeat of the whistle that Jonathan was blowing, but I didn't really pick up on that. But that's a bit I'd read anyway. So, how do you like those apples? And that is the end of.
There's a bit where the other killer just walks up to the fire while Connie's there, and you can see it in the background, and he just wandering
up. Yeah, it kind of trudges up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but she can't see it.
We see behind her, and she can't.
And then he just turns and blows a whistle right in the face, and you go. But it's dead blatant. It's not sneaky. It's not a jump scare. It's just weird. I thought, which I quite liked as well, that he just wanders up, does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the end of Just Before Dawn. I did look at the cuts. I mean, there's a few different versions of this film, actually.
I think there's at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, and a lot of the cuts were just purely around the story and really minor bits. The main cut in terms of the kill, all the cuts centred around the guy being stabbed in the crotch at the beginning.
I think we've pretty much seen the uncut one.
Yeah, I mean,
what else you're going to see.
Well, on some of the cut versions, it doesn't have him kind of grabbing at the blade, and it doesn't have the blade being moved around so much. So it's just it's basically shorter. That was the main cut in terms of gore, I suppose. The rest was just kind of bland bits of the story being cut around. But
yeah, I think it was just different versions of like a rough cut, really.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the cuts. I think we should crack on and review this.
I think you should go first. I feel we're going to have quite different opinions.
Yeah,
on this.
well, let's start. Well, no, it's an 80s slasher, so I like it no matter what. I'm going to start with the positives. I thought solid performances, no issues there with the acting, pretty good really. I really liked the setting. I liked the twins, the killers. I thought were really, really good.
Yeah.
I liked them. I liked the Deliverance kind of Hills of Ice survival inbred storyline, and I think there's some standout sequences. The kind of reveal in the church I really liked. I liked the bit with Danny without his glasses, and the bit on when they went skinny dip. So there's different scenes that I really, really liked. For me, ultimately, its major problem is that if you have, I think there's a kill count of 6. I don't mind films that build up to something. I don't need a kill every 5 minutes. I don't need it to be like Terrifier fucking 2. But we've got a kill that happens 2 minutes in and then it's followed by one at 50-ish minutes. If you're going to do that, if you're going to leave it that long before you have a kill, you better make sure it delivers. And I'm not sure that anyone, apart from the last one, which was quite memorable, all of the other kills are not remotely satisfying. So when you're waiting for them and they get delivered, they were shit. So I didn't like that. In fact, on watching it the second time, some of the kills I couldn't even remember from the first time I watched it, which was only the day before. It was that forgettable. So I liked the setting, the story, I liked everything, but as a slash... I mean, actually, people do talk about this as, again, whichever film you look at, they'll say it's underrated and it's a bit of a hidden gem, but I wouldn't put this in the same category as Friday the 13th, The Burning, one of the more conventional. It's at a lower level for me. I would put it with something like, probably with Sleepaway Camp, and probably something like, I mean, even Body Count, and Body Camp's a pretty dire film, but at least it's that bad it's good. I think some of this was a little bit boring. So I give it 5.5. I am bordering on 6, but I gave it 5.5 for me. And that is it. Yeah, I said fine, but no classic. I almost feel like, as well, the killers, I liked them that much. In a way, I thought they had some wasted potential. But yeah, that's me done. Thank you very much. Good night.
I disagree. I think it is a classic. Really like it. It's a different type of film. It's to call it a slash. It's not really a slasher though.
It's set out as a slasher though.
Yeah, I guess it is, but it isn't, because it's doing something a little bit different, and it is that kind of build up. And in terms of the kills, I kind of agree with you. Yeah, okay. Well, there's someone getting killed, but again, the point is, it's not that type of film. So I wouldn't compare it to Friday the 13th, which I don't really like Friday the 13th that much, to be quite honest.
I'm not a big fan of Friday the 13th. I don't think it's that good, but I'd still put this a lot higher than this.
No, I like it because it's not the build-up, really. It's just the atmosphere of it, that they're doing something. Again, it did remind me a lot of Deliverance, where it isn't about you knowing that someone's going to kill. Because in that, you don't know, well, apart from you kind of knowing the poster and that something's going to happen. If you've ever read about it, you know something's going to happen. But if you didn't, there's no build-up to something happening. They were going on a hunting trip and they already start hurting themselves and have injuries. And then something incredibly horrible happens. This, okay, someone gets stabbed at the beginning through the groin, which I thought immediately went, Jesus, I've never seen that before. I mean, they're not going to show it in detail, thank God. So I thought that was a good kill. I also liked the one where he's climbing. Honestly, I did like that. Even though it's not sort of a fantastically elaborate, it made me laugh because he just went, fuck this, and booted him off. And I thought, yeah, that's what you do. You wouldn't go... And then he gets up and then you stab him. You just go, yeah, boot the fucker off. So I quite liked it. He just got on with it. The rest of the kills, agreed. They were sort of off-screen or minimal, except for the the bit where it takes photos, which again I thought was a bit creepy because you can't actually see the horribleness that's happening, and these brothers taking fucking photos of it.
I did like that. Cause that was probably my favourite.
So and then just and I really like the ending because I've never seen anything like it since or before, and I knew nothing about it when I first saw it, and I just went, fuck me. And that came out of nowhere. Again, because of all the rest of the film wasn't like that really. This was such a big shock. It was weird because you knew something was wrong with her and the pair of them that made it a strange sort of surreally bit anyway. So for her to shove her entire arm up to her elbow down his throat and then pull it out at the end and then just stand there was... And it doesn't even cut to anything. There's no nice music, anything. It just... Her stands there looking catatonic, really.
Wouldn't it have been better if she would have been still stood there with her... At the end with her arm...
Him hanging off.
Her hanging off. Him hanging off her.
Yeah. But I don't...
Come on then. I like it.
It wasn't, like I say, it's not about the build-up. It was the atmosphere being a bit weird all the way through. It wasn't... I don't think there was... I agree. There wasn't building up to anything. It was just them doing stuff. And then the killer appears.
This is good though, isn't it? Because the bits that you were kind of quite entertained by, I found something so... And I don't usually get bored by films. I've got a lot of patience. Yeah. And I don't normally. And I got some of the bits for me were just...
The rope bridge got me because I thought, shit, that's a real thing. So I was tense on that, even though I know... Unless the killer suddenly jumped out. But I just thought, fucking hell, there's one person really doing that rope bridge. Bollocks to that. Then when they were rolling down the hill, I thought, again, this looked fucking dangerous.
Yeah,
so I was like entertained by reality.
That was yeah. But if I want reality, you can fucking watch a documentary, can't you? You're not there.
But it goes back to what if
you're there to be and to fucking tamed.
If you keep in what I've said at the beginning, but it's the same like with Jackie Chan and all that kind of stuff. Is some of it? It's like him doing weird stuff that you know is fucking just dangerous.
Yeah,
in a normal setting.
I will tell you now, and we talked about Jackie Chan at the beginning, didn't we? I'll tell you now, I did not get any of that vibe from this. I didn't get an adrenaline rush at any point from this. Come on, I'm waiting for the score.
Probably, and I'm pushing it to 8.5.
Wow. Well, yeah, but it is what it is. It's how you feel about it.
I think it's just because it's different to, again, the main thing with me is watching something that isn't what I'd seen before, and I had seen it a long time ago, but I forgot that end
the bit
was
where
good.
I'm not here to challenge you. That eight and a half, that's absolutely fine. But that's the bit I didn't at any point in this film think I'd seen anything I haven't seen before. That's weird, isn't it? But that's
even with the arm down the throat.
No, it was that's the bit. But if I'm waiting for that 30 seconds of a film, I'm sorry if that's the only bit that's a highlight. But anyway, no, but that's fine. No, 8.5.
I think it's an unsung classic. I think in Paris, very underappreciated.
Yeah, very underrated, and that's good. I like that. Yeah. So that's again. So I give it. Well, I said 5.5 or 6, and you've given it 8.5.
Well, 8 or 8.5.
Yeah. Again, I will say I thought it was really well acted. I thought it was really good. I think she was really good. And weirdly, again, it's one of these things where I didn't see her in much else other than this. And I thought she was pretty good in this. So that's 14 and a half out of 20 between us.
Do you normally do that in terms of adding it on?
No, I did do actually when we both give it a good one. But because you liked it so much, that's not a bad mark. When you think about it, out of 20.
Well, yeah, I know.
Varying opinions on it, so that's good. And that should be a recommendation to people alone. I mean, again, it's an 80s slasher, so I would always say if this is kind of, I would struggle to. I'll be honest. For me, unless it's somebody who's really into 80s slashers, I would say go and watch this, go and check it out because I always enjoy these anyway. For me, if it's not somebody who's particularly into this, I probably would struggle to recommend it.
I would say it's not a slasher. So you wouldn't. I wouldn't bracket it in the same thing.
But I think for somebody who's not like,
if you're expecting like Friday the 13th, you ain't getting that with this film.
No, but
at even close.
But I'm going to disagree slightly because I still think it does kind of set out to be a bit of a slasher. Whether it succeeds or not, I don't know.
Yeah. But... No, I think they sold it at that, and then he made the film probably to. Well, I'll piggyback off the back of it, obviously.
When I read a little bit about the director, he said he didn't want to film the characters doing the stupid things that characters normally do in a slasher. So I think Jeff Lieberman was trying to do a little bit more than that as well. I think he was trying to set out to do a little bit more.
I'm really intrigued to, maybe not Squirm, because I hear mixed stuff about that and it sounds a bit stupid. But Blue Sunshine, I'd be interested, because I know that's not a slasher.
What's it about?
I think it's about taking drugs in the 60s, how it's made them...
like hallucinogenics, isn't it?
How they made them sort of psychotic or something later on in their life. It's a weird kind of film, I've heard, but...
well, maybe it's something to check out.
Yeah. It's meant to be really hard to get up. Well, but you can get it on DVD or something. I'm not sure you can get it on streaming
services. So there you go. So 2 different opinions of a film, but nonetheless...
One correct and one talking shit. I'll let you decide.
You decide. You do the
You do the fucking math.
You do the jockeying math. Have you got anything else to say? Oh, you got a mouthful of jizz.
Got a mouthful of beer. No, look, again, I think...
Oh, no, not about the film. Just in general, about life. Most people who... the 4 people who listen to this probably already have watched it, and this is just an accompaniment.
Yeah, I definitely would say, make sure, definitely about the spoilers on this. I do think if you knew about the very end of this... Did you know about the ending of this film?
What, where she jumped? Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily a spoiler, is it? I think that
you
call the spoiler
the first time I saw it.
The twin bit, which I'm not bothered about anyway, but the knowing what happens in the end scene, yeah.
But if you had no idea and think, what's that woman going to do now?
It makes it better.
She's going to shove her entire arm down his fucking throat.
And also, you probably think, if it was going to be more conventional, you'd probably thought
get up or something.
Warren would get up and rescue her, and it's good that he didn't do that.
No, and she goes, fuck this.
And it sticks with that story arc of her becoming more... Yeah. Becoming the kind
literally fucking going fucking mental.
Yeah, going mental and him kind of whimpering in the corner. So I like that. So yeah. Very good. That's it then. Thank you for listening. Just Before Dawn. Check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Thank you.